So finally, it's official. He had a full-on chart to compare what the countries charge the United States of America's goods coming into their respective countries, and then the decision that he has taken, his administration has taken, and why. Let's go across and get some expert views on this as well. Joining me from the United States of America, from Washington, political analyst Rohit Sharma. Also, our colleague from Business Today Television, Karishma Asudani, joining me this morning. Rohit, first to you, tell me about this press conference, this announcement. I'm sure the world was watching in. There are observers, bureaucrats, experts were watching in. What do we make of this announcement, the whole theatrics he had with the chart, and of course, the highlight of India?
Well, look, this was something that was billed as the Liberation Day. Donald
Yes.
Trump has talked about this for years now. Going back to the 80s and his first administration in 2017. So this has been on his mind forever. And today was one of those days that he was looking forward to it. He initially wanted to announce this on April 1st, and then somebody in the administration told him that's April Fool's Day. So he moved it to April 2nd, and he was really wanting to do this. There were a lot of plans that were presented to him, some by the vice president, some by Lutnick, Secretary Rubio was involved, we were told. So I think at the end of the day, I think he's been wanting to do this for some time, and he's trying to sell these tariffs, these new tariffs as a plan to bring jobs back to America, bring manufacturing jobs back to America, uh, bring the deficit down, right? And also trying to make sure that he can sort of, play hardball with countries that do not see eye to eye on certain issues with America. So he's trying to do a lot of these things with this one big plan that he has, which is tariffs. Now, in the executive order that he signed, it's clearly stated that these tariffs will stay in place until the president thinks that he can resolve them. So that's one of the goals.
Okay.
That's a domestic message. And the larger thing is, I think his policy, or what he's thinking essentially is he's going to have trade agreements with EU, with UK, with India, and other countries that will allow America to levy some of these tariffs, and also work on a trade deal that allows America to reduce some of the deficit. So I think that's the big plan here. But again, this is Donald Trump, who's been talking about this for 40 plus years, and he was able to make it a
In the
big day,
second
and he called it
administration,
Liberation Day.
he's definitely taken some decisions. And remember, the world was on edge because, and we'll know in a while when the markets open, what will be the response to it. And that's where I bring in Karishma. Must have been a long night. All our colleagues at Business Today were tracking this midnight announcement. Karishma, tell me first about India, because would I be correct to say that compared to other nations, India has definitely got a fair discount in terms of how when I see China about over 34%, India gets 26%, and we sometimes charge high on the US imported goods.
Well, it's definitely done some good to us because of the recent negotiations that we
Correct.
have had with the US officials visiting India. But does it keep us on the safe line? Not really, because we are also going to be majorly impacted in about 1 hour. Our markets will react to it. Japan has already slumped about 4%. South Korean markets have not taken it well either. The US markets itself, of course, have not taken it either. There could be a two-way approach to look at this, Pooja. There is, of course, a direct hit on our exports that is expected, and we export a lot. We export close to about $75 billion to US, let alone in a year, and our exports are going to be impacted clearly. But there is an indirect approach, and this is going to be on a global trade disruption, which is imposing significant. These tariffs could have extreme impacts on major trading partners, because the Chinese imports, the Vietnamese goods, all of this are being impacted, and this will create some kind of trade barrier. There could be currency fluctuations that we could see, and potential trade opportunities leading to policy uncertainty. So on a macro level, I think it's more of a worry rather than a direct hit, because I think countries were preparing for this direct hit.
And perhaps many were expecting over 50%. He says that he's been able to kind of adjust and give what he believes is correct. Thank you very much, Karishma, for now. Rohit, I request you to please stay on with me. Now, of course, for us, remember, the focus is as much India, because he did talk about specifically India and specifically about Prime Minister Modi, the friendship that he has with him, and how if India is charging over 50% on certain US important goods, he's decided to only go ahead right now with 26% tariff is what he said. Let's listen in to excerpts from that announcement of Trump.
The United States charges other countries only a 2.4 tariff on motorcycles. Meanwhile, Thailand and others are charging much higher prices, like 60%. India charges 70%. Vietnam charges 75%, and others are even higher than that. Likewise, until today, the United States has for decades charged a 2.5 tariff. Think of that, 2.5% on foreign-made automobiles. The European Union charges us more than 10% tariffs, and they have 20% VATs, much, much higher. India charges 70%, and perhaps worst of all are the non-monetary restrictions imposed by South Korea, Japan, and very many other nations. As a result of these colossal trade barriers, 81% of the cars in South Korea are made in South Korea. 94% of the cars in Japan are made in Japan. Toyota sells 1 million foreign-made automobiles into the United States, and General Motors sells almost none. Ford sells very little. None of our companies are allowed to go into other countries. India, very, very tough, very, very tough. The Prime Minister just left. He's a great friend of mine, but I said, you're a friend of mine, but you're not treating us right. They charge us 52%. You have to understand, we charge them almost nothing for years and years and decades. And